Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. Random encounters have sort of become a staple of Bethesda games, and Fallout 4 is no exception. Random encounters are simply preset, oftentimes scripted events or potential interactions that can randomly occur at a number of varying locations. There's a variety of factors that influence which encounters you'll end up seeing, including which quests you've completed, what level you are, and just sheer chance. Meaning, it's easily possible to completely have missed certain ones without paying close attention. Some of these are as stale as a simple raider attack or a group of wandering scavengers, but other random encounters are truly unique and fascinating, and it's some of those that I wanted to explore today. Sit back and relax as we take a look at 5 rare and strange random encounters you may have missed in Fallout 4. Starting off, we're going to begin with what's perhaps the most depressing one. At just about any level, it's possible to come across a large, destroyed Vault-Tec van, and just next to it, a human skeleton, with an odd note between his legs. Now, when you pick this note up, a large part of it will be torn and obviously unreadable. But through some digging in the game's files, we can actually find the full text. It reads, quote, "Mr. Henderson, I hate to have to remind you again, but you failed to meet your quota last month. We still have spots to fill in Vault 75, and you have not been pulling your weight. Going forward, please just smile and stick to the script. Save the evangelizing for your own time. You are making people uncomfortable. This is your last warning. If you don't reach your target this month, you're out. Signed, Ralph Jones, Regional Manager, Vault-Tec Industries." So this man must have been a Vault-Tec sales representative whose job it was to go door to door and sell Vault space, but had been failing to reach his target quotas, likely due to him, well, evangelizing. As we know, thanks to the Vault-Tec representative whom we meet at the beginning of the game, and get to encounter later on after the bombs fell, Vault-Tec seemed to have promised its employees, or at least its sales reps, a spot in their vaults in case anything ever happened as part of their compensation. But clearly, Vault-Tec felt this Mr. Henderson fellow just wasn't selling well enough to warrant that, and denied him a spot, condemning him to die when the bombs finally came. Or maybe he just didn't make it on time. Perhaps he did end up reaching his quotas, but he never made it to a vault. He is in the middle of nowhere. Oddly enough, however, chances are he wasn't missing out on much. As that vault the note mentions, Vault 75, was an especially cruel one, as soon as the bombs fell, nearly all non-essential and non-staff adults in the shelter were executed, and their children were then trained to become Spartan-like super soldiers from then on out. So Mr. Henderson was probably doomed anyway. The bombs just made it happen a bit earlier. Next on our list, after one of the first quests, When Freedom Calls, has been completed, when wandering Fallout 4's roads, there's an ever so small chance you may be approached by a curious character named Preston Garvey. Though it's very obvious that this isn't the Preston Garvey we all know and love. This Preston doesn't look anything like the one we encountered in the Museum of Freedom. Regardless, before we're able to get a word in, this Preston will inform the player that the Minutemen is rebuilding, and the General has sent him to collect donations from the Commonwealth citizens in order to kickstart funding. He'll then ask that you give him 100 caps.
Hey man, I don't think we've met, but your time is impeccable. Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minutemen.
Minutemen?
We protect the people at a minute's notice. That's the idea, anyway. You might have heard we're making a comeback. The General sent me to collect donations from concerned citizens like yourself. Help us out, and you can count on the Minutemen to be there when you need us. Can I put you down for, say, 100 caps?
By now, it should become obvious what's happening. This fellow isn't the real Preston. He's an imposter, simply trying to exploit people and profit off of the Minutemen's good name. Besides, if he was the real one, he would have told you about a settlement in need of your help by now. That's how we know he's a fake. From here, the player will essentially have 3 options. Either A, call out the man for his obvious lies, which will provoke him to just run away in fear. B, simply tell him you don't have the caps on you right now, causing him to shame you for, quote, not helping the cause. Or C, just straight up give him the 100 caps he's asking for, which will result in him thanking you and just going on his way. Though, in my opinion, as I think most will agree, option A is definitely the most satisfying, especially if you take the sarcastic route.
No, really. I am the General.
Oh shit.
Unfortunately, if you have the real Preston as an active follower when you meet this guy, no unique dialogue will be available, which is a bit disappointing, but not quite as disappointing as giving this guy your money, only to later realize that you were conned. Coming at number 3, I love this one. One of the game's most common reoccurring random encounter themes is coming across various roving merchant caravans, who act as potential vendors you can trade with. There's quite literally somewhere around a dozen unique caravan merchants you can meet, ranging from simple general salesmen to specialist doctors who offer an array of medical goods. One of these caravan merchants you can meet is a chem dealer named Stash. She travels alongside her two guards, Simon and Lexa, who are also brother and sister. If you engage in a general conversation with Stash, she may mention that Simon, one of the guards, also has a chem addiction himself, and she commonly sells to him, basically ensuring she has a loyal customer nearby at all times. Though she'll also admit that Lexa, his sister, isn't very happy about this whole arrangement, and really wants her brother clean. You can speak with either of the guards, and they'll also echo the same points. Simon makes it clear he loves chems, and Lexa makes it clear that she hates Simon's love for them. Well, here's where things get really neat. Because after you've met Stash for the first time, a new random encounter will become available, and it may occur after some considerable in-game time, where you can find a small campsite with 3 sleeping bags and Stash's dead body on one. She's been killed. At first, it's unclear what exactly happened, but seems likely that one of her own guards killed her in her sleep, seeing as she'll be lying in a bed, and both Simon and Lexa will be nowhere in sight, though it's uncertain who pulled the trigger, so to speak. As neither of them are nearby, it can be assumed that Simon and Lexa ran off together. However, we're given some insight to what really happened in yet another random encounter that's connected, and unlocked after we find the campsite, where, after a few more in-game days, you can be attacked by a small band of raiders. At first, this likely seems insignificant, but after you dispatched of all of them, you may notice that one of those raiders in the pack will indeed be Simon, Stash's junkie bodyguard. After her death, he ran off and joined a gang of these people. This is the final connected event, and after this encounter there aren't any more. Lexa's whereabouts will be left a mystery, though what likely happened is that Simon killed Stash for her chems and ran off, while Lexa either willingly abandoned him or was left behind. Whatever the case, a tragic tale indeed. For 4th spot, speaking of raiders, this next encounter can occur at any level without any prerequisite quests needing to be completed first. However, doesn't involve any interactions with humans. At least, not live ones. We can stumble upon a camp with a single wild mongrel standing guard that'll turn hostile upon detection. Once we've taken care of man's former best friend, we can begin to inspect what happened here. 3 mattresses are spread out. On top of 2 of them, the bodies of 2 raiders. Next to all of this is a massive rad scorpion. It seems somewhat clear what went down here. 2 raiders and their dogs set up a small camp, and at some point while they were all sleeping, a very unhappy rad scorpion ambushed them. Both raiders were quickly killed, however the dog was awoken and managed to somehow overpower the creature, only after his owners died. Now the poor hungry thing, not knowing what else to do, was simply hanging out next to the bodies of his masters. All things considered, it's hard not to feel for this pup. Sure, it attacked you on sight, but it was definitely alone, scared, and probably wounded. It was almost a certainly loyal companion to its masters not a long time ago. If only we got across his path under just slightly different circumstances. And finally, last on our list, after completing the quest, the Silver Shroud, wherein you get to assume the persona of a fictitious pre-war superhero and fight crime, you'll be eligible to meet another odd self-declared Commonwealth superhero as a part of a random encounter during your travels. An odd character by the name of Manta Man can come up to you when you're on the roads and declare that he's out looking to fight crime. Apparently, much like the Silver Shroud, Manta Man was also a comic book hero in the olden times, and the idea of him has inspired this man to take up the same identity. Manta Man's costume is a lot less, shall we say, high quality than the one you receive as a Silver Shroud, though he seems just as dedicated to defeating evil nonetheless. When you try and speak with him, you'll be unable to enter a dedicated dialogue tree, though he will utter a handful of heroic quotes, and if you're wearing your custom Silver Shroud costume as well, he will have some unique things to say.
It is good to see you, my friend. The Shroud and Manta Man have not teamed up since our special crossover episode. How I would love to share your company for many an hour. But crime waits for no man, not even Manta Man.
Unfortunately, our friend here probably isn't the most effective at fighting crime. As when attacked, he'll fight with only his fists, so not exactly the greatest threat to the raiders of Fallout 4. But hey, it's the heart that counts. And with that, we are going to wrap up. 5 rare and strange random encounters you may have missed in Fallout 4. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Which of the odd interactions and events that we broke down today did you find to be the coolest or otherwise most interesting? My personal favorite was the fake Preston Garvey. And what random encounters or spontaneous interactions have you come by that I've yet to cover but deserve to be noticed? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.